guest on tonight, one of my good, dear friends. We are going to be talking about a whole menagerie of things, most of which we're going to be talking to you about basically consciousness and these events that have been put together and are going to be put together for meditation and ways for you to really enhance yourself, raise your frequency, get above above the curve. So hopefully we can get as many people and touch as many people as possible. At this moment in time, the host of Watchers Talk, the creator of the event Time Is Up, is Omar. Omar, how are you this evening, my friend?
What's up, buddy? I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for inviting me on your show. I really appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure, man. We could talk for days on end, and I truly love our conversations. They are ultimate and epic, and we have. I got my starting on radio and video and broadcasting with you and Clarence, and while we're here today, and I did a year in review last Saturday. I just wanted to acknowledge that and thank you. And I love having you come back on and just talking with you, man, just shooting the shit and doing what we do. I think it's truly enlightening when we do that and raising awareness for a lot of different subjects that you may not hear everywhere else.
Yeah, exactly. I love it, man. And we've proved it, time and again over the course of 2020, since, we were all legally locked down. We, decided to do a number of events throughout the year. And those events were like 9 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours. So, we've shown that we can, chatterbox for hours from one topic to the next. And, that's kind of how it goes too, right? Because everything's kind of connected, because we're dealing with this reality where, everything is defragmented. And right now our job is to, bring all that together, like puzzle pieces everybody talks about, right? Like rabbit holes. And, there's tens of thousands of rabbit holes out there, but, they're all connected. Every single one of them is connected. It's like a spider web. And eventually it leads to the source. And that's what, our goal is to find the source and then to destroy it.
I totally agree. And, it's basically a tool to help deprogram from the mass programming of multimedia corporations and things you see on TV. And it's really a way to detach yourself from what mainstream society says is the norm.
Because yeah, honestly, distractions.
Right. They have no clue what the norm is, and they have been so out of touch for so long that it's leading people astray on so many different subjects and so many different things that, it's an epic thing that we try and help people achieve their true potential and achieve their true light inside. They are the leaders that they have been waiting for. And I say that all the time. So, it's good for people to take life by the bootstraps, pull them bad boys up, trudge through that mud. So once you get to the other side, it's a truly enlightening experience, and one of the things I wanted to go into was the last event that we just did on the 21st. From what you said, the numbers were incredible, which means that we touched so many people, but there was also ways that you charted it. And if you want to explain to us through the Schumann resonance, just let everybody know what that is, and as if they didn't know at all, but what that might be and how we affected it on for so many hours of that day on the 21st.
Yeah, right on, man. I'm glad you mentioned that, because when you were talking about that, I was getting goosebumps all over my arms, and that was a really cool event. And there's a much deeper story to that, right? Than the 8 hours that we ran. I was attending, these series called Our Alien Ancestry, held by the Forgotten Origin with Stephen and Evan Strong, which we interviewed a number of times throughout the year. And they were holding these private events, and I went to those. And then as they were talking, they began speaking about this prophecy called the Magic Box prophecy, which is kind of the same to the Hopi, and where you walk down the road, we're on this path, and that path is eventually going to split. And if we make the right choices, then we're going to live in abundance and in love and with safety. But if we make the wrong choices, then we walk down the path of destruction, and so on and so on. We don't even want to talk about that because we don't want to give it any energy. So anyways, that's what the prophecy was. So what the elders, the Aborigines, the original people of Australia and the world, what they did was they did a call to action, and through Stephen and Evan Strong, they wanted everybody to get together on the 21st of December and hold a meditation event, meditation ceremonies, in order to open up this magic box in at Uluru. And if people are familiar with what Uluru is, and if they're not, it's just this great big rectangular stone in the middle of nowhere in Australia, and it's just the tip of the iceberg. It's kind of like an iceberg because you can only see just the tip of it, but a majority mass chunk of it is under the earth. It goes down like about 30 miles. It's not it's not like a small rock. It's a huge thing. And the story behind that is that the Palladians put that rock there, and when they began seeding the earth. But anyways, that's a story for another day. But anyways, when they did this call to action, about 15 million of us across the world came together on that day, and each individual group of us held different events, and the one that we held was it was pretty epic. One of the best ones that I've held. So the point of that one, the intent was to gather as many people as we can, and and have their self-awareness raised, and through doing that, and through meditating, and through showing love to one another globally, we were trying to increase the Schumann resonance. And when the Schumann resonance increases, it's like an engine, right? It's like the Earth's engine. When it starts revving, we want it to rev even harder, kind of like a '69 Mustang, right? Like bam, 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 kind of like that. We want to rev the Earth Schumann, and so its engine. So the effort is to continue to make that happen over the course of next 4 or 5 years, because then this is where the consciousness shift is happening, from 3D to 4D, because right now we're living in a 3D reality, and what we need to do is advance to the 4D, and the 4D reality is the love frequency, and that's ultimately what our goal is, and then from there to 5D to 6D. Right, so people are under this false, idea that they're suddenly going to jump from, the third dimension into the fifth dimension. It just doesn't work like that. You're not going to be able to vibrate at a fifth dimension with a fourth dimension vibration. It just it doesn't work. So you have to go to the fourth. So our effort is to go to the fourth. So the day began with us just showing the people a little bit behind the scenes what we do before the show starts, which I've never done before, so I thought it might be cool for people to check out of what I do, just my routine, smoking and drinking coffee and kind of what have you. And then we had Aaron Fowler come on, and Aaron's a good buddy of mine. He's a shaman, and he came on and he did a sage burning ceremony, and he led the day off with a meditation. But I'm sorry, prior to that, I ran a video which showed Stephen and Evan Strong doing a rock ceremony at Uluru, and it's really cool. The deeper story to that is, like, after it was done, there were people like taking pictures and videos around the area, and there was this energy that was coming off of Uluru, and there was like this beam that shot right out from Uluru, and the sky turned like this amazing like a lapis lazuli blue, just a very amazing blue.
It was really awesome too. I mean, what the whole feeling with that rock ceremony and him just laying the rocks down, it was just incredible. I mean, the vibes coming off of it, I can't even describe it. You
Yeah.
felt it on every fiber of your being. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he looked really at peace, and for me, it was a really neat experience, because I've never seen a ceremony like that before. I've seen others, but nothing like that. So it was unique, and it was different. And anthropologically speaking, it was really good and nice to see into a different culture as to how they carry out their cultures and rituals and such, and how it's connected to the earth, because whatever ritual they're doing and whatever ritual I'm doing or you're doing, the end goal is to connect to the earth, and either take energy from it, or give energy to it, or recycle the energy, or whatever the case. It doesn't matter how you carry it out, but it's really cool to see, right, that he was so at peace, and it was super cool.
There was
Yeah,
so much going on there too. When we started this event, first you asked me to be a part of the event, and I was honored and privileged to be there. And I thought it was going to be epic, but little did I know how amazing this whole thing was going to turn out. And the way you put this together, it was almost a perfect menagerie cast of people, where we were cleared and then we would think hard and critical think, and then we would be cleared again and come back to the subject. It was, I can't describe it. If you haven't seen it, it's on Watchers Talk on the YouTube channel. It's also on my Facebook. You can find it in Full Spectrum Universe. You can also find it on you have outside of the cube, Observing Humanity, right, is probably where it would be for you as well, and
Oh, it's
also
on.
Portal to Ascension on YouTube.
Yeah, the full version is on Watchers Talk on YouTube, as well as Portal to Ascension. But it's only 5 hours available at on Facebook. Like I said, they cut us off 5 hours into it when we started talking about the mushrooms and psychedelics and how all that's connected to Christmas. That's they chopped us right then and there, censoring us, right? But nothing new from my side.
Right, that happens to us all the time, and we're
Yeah,
very familiar with that.
yeah, I'm a
But
veteran.
one of the things that was awesome about this event too is the fact that you were able to chart the Schumann resonance before and then now afterwards. How much of a
Yeah,
difference have you seen in it even after the 21st? Has it raised since then? I mean, you want to go
it's
into the
it's
details of that?
it's gone back to its normal, right? Because I began collecting the images, the screenshots back in what was that, December 1st, I think, the beginning of the month, and took snapshots of it every single day, and then right up to the end of the month, and I haven't taken snapshots in the last few days. I should, but I've just been lazy, but it's gone back down to its normal and just fluctuates just a little bit, every time people around the world pray, right? Like Muslims pray 5 times a day, Christians go to church, throughout the week they go to the church. So, there's a lot of ceremonial stuff happening. So it just fluctuates. So the goal of my upcoming events is to, increase that, every single month. And, hopefully we can get people on board that want to do their own events and run their own events, and then we can coordinate, and then we can have like an event a week. Every single week we have meditation events, and different groups, different organizations hold it, and, come together, work together.
I think right now that is something that is super important to do too, with the way that the culture is so up and down. To have that reset once a week to get yourself back to square one and raise that vibration is something that people either need to look into or at least join in on, because it's difficult to understand if you don't do it enough. But once you start making that a routine and having that ability to clear yourself of all this negative that you hear all day long and all night, and all this crazy stuff going on, and it feels like the world is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, and then you get that moment to just recoup, and then it brings you back to yourself, and you're actually more in the first person in that moment than you would believe, and all that esoteric stuff, that rhetoric of whatever it may be, doesn't even phase you anymore, because you look forward to these moments where you can get to that clear spot again, and you'll try and carry that throughout the week or the month, whatever it may be, how often you go into the events. But it gives you this semblance of clarity, and everybody needs that. We're getting further and further away from that, which I'm sure that was also part of the event that you put together, which I can't wait to be, just to even see all the events every month. I truly believe that every time that Schumann resonance spikes, like you said, it doesn't matter what religion it is. It doesn't matter your what you're doing in the sense of communing in a group. Anytime you pray together or you commune together in a sense of lifting your energies together, it has an impact on the greater good and the consciousness of everybody on the world. And
Mhm.
whether you think that you're minuscule enough can't shift that, that's completely wrong. Everybody has their part to play and their due diligence to make sure that we raise this vibration, because
Well,
into the future, it's going to get,
one drop of rain doesn't make an ocean.
that is
You know what
true.
I'm saying? Each and every one of us are, one, become the whole, and the whole become the one. So in essence, each individual is a raindrop, and together we can be the sea, we can be a river, we can be a lake, we can be an ocean. It's up to us, because our perception dictates our reality. So if your perception is of fear, then your reality will be filled with fear. So that's the number one thing that people suffer from, not because they want to, is because they've been programmed that way, because the oldest part of our brain is what's being manipulated, right? The reptilian brain, right? That's being manipulated. The fight or flight syndrome, right? Can't have enough, right? I don't have enough food. A prime example of it is hoarders, right? They just can't seem to have enough, so they collect and collect and collect. But each and every single one of us suffers from that very same thing. So because we're bombarded with it through media on a daily basis, it just increases that fear perception. But if you just observe yourself from a third party, like you're watching yourself and look at things objectively, then that fear begins to dissipate, right? But it's easier said than done. But the number one thing that we have to do is to figure out the problem, right? And the problem is that we're running off of our five senses, and we're running off of our reptilian brain, the oldest part of our brain, flight or fight. We're in that constant mode, alpha male, bravo male, Charlie male, leader of the pack, step over this guy to get that, and screw over a village to gain a field kind of deal. So, we need to identify the problem first, and then come to terms with it. That you're right. I am being dictated by my reptilian brain, and how can I snap out of that? But it's not people's fault either, because it's being increased in size, and most people are not aware of that. But because it's being enlarged, that means the senses of fear are heightened. They're increased. So back in the day, our reptilian brain was smaller, like the size of a peanut maybe, and it's being increased through various methods. I don't know if you want to get into it, but eventually we will. But it's been a targeted thing for us where we are today. And once we come to realize that we're being targeted, then we can begin to fight back. And the way to fight back is to say, okay, I have enough. That's it. I have enough. And stop. And then everybody has enough. And if everybody has enough, no one has the need to fight. And if no one has the need to fight, there'll be no violence, there'll be no war, there'll be no conflicts. Sure, there'll be, disagreements, but it's not going to be all at war, because I'm not going to send my children off to war, so that, they can go and kill someone and then come home and live with that for the rest of their lives. No thanks.
Right.
Not happening around here.
That's true. And one of the things that too, I think that also, like I said, with these events coming up, I mean, just to get people more on board with the thinking of that we are all one. We're just a different projection of each other. Everybody stems from the one, that infinite consciousness, that whatever you may call it, whether it be your creator, your God, it is ultimately where a lot of knowledge that we haven't even tapped into yet has come from, because of that infinite consciousness. It sort of goes along the lines of how different peoples around the same time decided to make a pyramid. Yes, it is the most sound structure. There are things about that, but either they were given that from their one, their true one, or it was a global consciousness that instilled this idea upon them for all to make these structures, whether they be, we really have we have somewhat of an idea of what they were for, but we don't truly know the aspects of why they were built and what their purpose was. But we do know that they were all pretty much established relatively around the same century. You know what I mean?
Yeah, those pyramids are created by like a class 1 civilization that wanted to control the volcanic activity on the planet. I got a friend, John Shaughnessy, that I spoke with a few months ago, and he has a theory where he said they use the pyramids as gravity lenses, and if you with each pyramid is connected a volcano. So if you go straight down to the mantle of the earth, and then, or sorry, to the core of the earth, and go 180 degrees across, they'll be connected a volcano. For instance, where Hawaii is where the Egyptian pyramids are. Where the Mexican pyramids are is where the Pompeii. Which mountain is that? The Pompeii mountain.
Oh, that's in Italy.
Yeah, it's connected to that, and and other pyramids around the world. But there's tens of thousands of them, and they're all gravity lenses to control the temperature of the Earth. And and then when you look at it, on a larger picture of terraforming the Earth, then it really does make sense that that's what they might have been doing. And then that really puts the pyramids into a far older date of just a couple few thousand years, or even 10 or 12,000 years. Then we're looking at it in a like hundreds of millions of years, and that's not really far off the beaten path either, because we've found artifacts around the world that date back 400 million years, 500 million years. There was a hammer that was found that was encased in coal that was dated to like 450 million years, right? So we know that there were people walking around back then, and more than likely giants, because then the other dot you have to connect, which is the the Earth water canopy, where there was a huge canopy around the Earth, and so there was less sun rays and radiation coming in. People grew larger, more oxygen, they lived longer, and we have records of that. And possibly they built the pyramids, or maybe even earlier than that. Whoever seeded them built the pyramids. It's like when we were talking about earlier. There's like 10,000 rabbit holes, but when you look at them from a larger perspective, they're all connected.
Well, absolutely.
Every one of them. People want to give aliens the credit. Oh, aliens did it. Aliens did it. That's just lazy thinking. That's just being lazy, in your own aptitude and your own thinking, and just saying, oh, the aliens did it, and then just dismiss it and believe it and carry on with the day, and, and give yourself this false idea of bullshit that the aliens built it. Give your race some credit. Just because we're, stupid and retarded right now doesn't necessarily mean, that we were like this, a few thousand years ago. We're just behaving like this, like I said, because of the enlarged reptilian brain. We're just, based off of that. Emotion, reaction. I didn't like what you said, like Karen. Like we can use Karen as an example, right? I don't like what you said. I didn't like what you said. Just respond, right? But with emotion. It's like, and that's what we do. We don't step back and think with our heart and think things logically. It's just response. And, it's just like a cat.
Action, reaction.
Yeah.
But it's not even a thought process. It's almost like fed.
Programmed.
Yeah, it's programmed. And one of the things I wanted to touch on too is you talk about giants. That's literally corroborated through multiple different regional texts and Bibles and stuff, as such as the Nephilim and the giants in the Indian or in the Hopi Indian culture that they used to trap in caves and set fire to the front of the cave. So not only are we looking at that as kind of like a marker, and this is what happens when you start looking into ancient civilizations, is how their stories coincide with minor twists to them that may be a little bit different, which of course is their perception.
Yeah.
And I sent you that chart too. I looked at a chart that 1,207 Americans were polled on what they believe from ancient civilizations to UFOs. And 55% of those 1,207 people decided that ancient civilizations was something that they truly believed in. And it's funny because we listen to all these mainstream history people, and all they do is go back 12,000 years, 12,500 years. It's so much further than that. And
that's when the shit show started.
Right.
12,000 years ago was when the shit show started for us. That's when the Earth's water canopy let go, right? Or it was, forced or bursted, or, it was influenced to do what it did. And that's when we get the stories of 40 days of rain, 40 days and 40 nights of rain. And then it was at that time that, our entire shit show that we're involved in right now began. That's when civilization and this false perception reality that we talked about actually started. Because prior to that, we were huge, and the giants that you're talking about, Rob, are, they're,
really big.
no, they're not really all that big. They're like the race of basketball players, pretty much, like about, 7, 8 feet tall,
Right.
some 9 feet tall, that's really nothing. They're still considered midgets when you think about them from the level of, giants, because there were giants that were, like 40 meters tall, that were like 30 meters tall, 50 meters tall, like that's where yoga actually comes from, is from giants. Most people don't know this, but the yoga that we do today derives from the giants, because when they first came to manifest on this planet, the gravity and their size caused them to be really clumsy. So because they were clumsy, they were stubbing their toes, they were breaking their toes, they couldn't balance themselves, right? So it was at that time that they created yoga and the positions that we find ourselves in, so they can learn how to balance themselves so that they can, conduct the terrain of this planet, the gravity. So, even that, goes back to the giants. So the ones that you're talking about, the ones that got smoked out in Wisconsin, they were just a little compared to, the older ones, when you go back a lot further back, right? Like I said, we only became small, like about 12,000 years ago. And prior to that, we were, we were huge, we were giants, and we were extremely, incredibly intelligent. And, we were telepathically connected to every single person in the universe, not just this planet, but the entire universe. So the false perception, this false reality of like, wake up, go to work, have a sandwich, finish the workday, fight the traffic, come home, watch a little television, eat dinner, go to sleep, and then do that loop Monday through Friday. If you're lucky, sometimes you have to do it Monday through Sunday. And, live that loop 10 hours a day. That's false reality. That's a false perception. Because if you wake up and just stop for a second, you'd realize that you don't need all of that. There's no reason for any of that. And then, you would cooperate with one another to make sure that everyone has. Some people call that socialism. But, I call that, common sense, that, we're all here for, one human experience. So let's help each other and have that human experience, get off this monetary weapon that we keep, playing with. It's like a hand grenade, that we play with every single day. Our entire lives are wasted in pursuit of a piece of paper with some ink on it that we've given some value to.
Well, absolutely. And one of the things that you say, they say that's socialism, but I think it has a different bearing, because with socialism, it's more of actions owed. If we did it the way you were talking about it, it's more about actions that proceeded as payment in a sense, but not so much payment. It would be a stabilization of harmony. Just like, if, right. If there was some kind of one world government that was, preaching this harmonious thing instead of what we are, the type that they're globalist agenda that they're trying to do now, I would say I'm all for that. Where if it was differently, not that I'm with any globalist or any cabal, but if it was positioned and propositioned differently and ran by the many and not the few, and everybody had their say, but we did these things to coexist and help those less fortunate, so we all have a medium, and not a few have all and none, and most have none. It's all perception too. But it's a dynamic. It's the way we were meant to live on this earth, which is a symbiosis with the Mother Earth itself, symbiosis with each other, but ego, and then we get into ego and inflammation of power. All that stuff corrupts. So we have to be leery of those things too. And it's truly a dynamic that we have to break now. If we don't break it now, like you're saying, it's going to cycle through all of us and be the end of us.
Yeah. is going to be the end of us if we carry on doing what we're doing, because we're so destructive, and that really goes to show that the way we're behaving right now, we've become like an invasive species to this planet. We're destroying everything, but you have to remember, the more we destroy and the more we create this negative energy, this low, dense energy. Every time we have a negative thought or negative action, it's feeding the our overlords. The people really like to say that conspiracy theory, but again, that's lazy thinking. What I've hypothesized is that there's these dark entities that are literally attached to us, and then they feed off of our misery, and they create all these miseries. They're kind of like a trickster god. They'll give you two things, kind of like a genie, and build up your what do you call that?
Self-esteem.
Yeah, that, or like
Confident
that,
level.
yeah, your confidence, and then they'll slam you with something that brings you down, and you come down really hard. And then when you come down really hard, that's like dinner time for them, and then they feed, and then you'll sit there depressed in what happened, and then you're creating even more dense energy, and they're still feeding off of that, and then eventually you snap out of it, and then you go back to doing what you're doing. Suddenly shit starts to happen for you, because you're believing that good things will happen, and and then these things continue to fuck with you because they're feeding off of you. You're like we're like in a chicken coop. That's what we are to these things. We're food. And the more we attack each other, the more we hate each other, the more we hate ourselves, because that's the number one problem, is hating ourselves.
Exactly.
The more dense vibrational energy that you create, your Taurus becomes next to nothing, and then you're prone to attack constantly. That's what people say. Oh, I always had the shittiest luck. Shittiest things always happen to me. Like, why do the shitty things happen to me? As well, it's because your Taurus and your attitude and your mindset, right? Because your consciousness is creating your reality. So if you think shitty shit's gonna happen to you, well, then guess what? Shitty shit's gonna happen to you. So if you say, hey, why does good things always happen to me?
I'm gonna make two examples right now for people to fully grasp this, right? So let's go back to the symbiosis with the Earth, right? It's like Spider-Man. When Spider-Man gets that Venom symbiote, it doesn't agree with him. It doesn't match. It turns him evil because he didn't have enough confidence in himself to ride that symbiote. But then when it goes to the whatever the other guy's name is that actually becomes Venom, they become good because of his confidence, able to control it. Right now, we're like Earth. The Earth is Spider-Man, and we're the symbiote. We need to find that balance, like Venom did, with the good and the evil, but just enough to teeter off. Also, one of the things that we get caught up in is this system, right? Where, like you said, they beat you down, and then you get to a certain point, and then it beats you down again. And then what happens is you get happy with just reaching that certain point instead of achieving plus that point. And then when they keep beating you down and beating you down and beating you down, every time you get to that point, you get content with that point. There is nothing with complacence is a curse.
You're just happy to be out of that pile of shit.
Right.
Doesn't matter if you're covered in it. You're just happy to be out of that puddle.
Right. Complacency kills your dreams. So what you need to do is you need to literally reach for the stars in hopes that you land on a cloud. You keep pushing forward and you keep pushing forward. And once in a while, you'll get that breakthrough moment where you go through the ceiling. And then the next time you come down a little, you don't go past that point, and you keep doing it until you become everything that you want to be and anything that you want to be. Nothing is off limits. With passion and knowledge, nothing is off limits to you. And that is the slogan of this show. So that's one of the things that we pride ourselves on. That's why I call myself the ultimate outsider, the Tuesday Night Titan, because we bring positivity. We do the right thing for people. We bring facts and theories and hypotheses so you can expand your mind, so your consciousness expands. Knowledge is key. You need to read. You need to figure things out for yourself. And if you believe something other than somebody else says, doesn't mean that neither of you are wrong. Neither of you are right. It's all conjecture until we actually find out. But keep going with that motion, man. Like, just, I feel like people need to hear that once in a while. I really do.
Yeah. listen, like, agree, and then do whatever the fuck you were going to do anyways. Just roll with that motto in life. Just be kind and, just when somebody's talking, just agree with them, like it, give them a smile, and then go do whatever the fuck it is that you were going to do to begin with. Because if that's what you're bent out of shape on doing, then, then do it. The way I see it is, people need to begin to, number one, acknowledge the universe, and then acknowledge that the universe works with you or it works against you, right? So if you raise your self-awareness and begin to correct yourself, then the universe will work with you. But if you continue to do the same old shit again and again and again, then the universe will work against you, because it's a balance, teetering, you're tottering between positive and negative, the yin and the yang. So it's really up to you to balance both sides and then not get won over by either or, because, power corrupts, and, not having enough power corrupts too, because then you want it. You were talking about God earlier, right? And, I'd have to say that God is, we're more superior to God, and that God is inferior to us. That would be like, us, that'd be like a monkey, looking at a reindeer and worshiping it as a god because it can fly, right? It's the same thing with us. We are the ultimate that there ever was. We're everything that there is, ever was, or ever will be. We're infinite consciousness. So this idea of God is created by our mind. So if it's created by our mind, it is inferior to us because it has no power over us. We have power over it, right? So that makes us superior to it. So in essence, each and every single one of us is a God, but a far superior one to the ones that we've created, in order for us to feel small. You know what I'm saying? We want to feel small. And that's the idea of a God, is for you to feel small. But you're not small. That's the thing. Like I said, you're infinite consciousness. You're everything that there ever was, ever is, ever will be. You're an expression of the infinite consciousness, like a pinpoint, a projection, a focus of attention of the infinite consciousness. That's what you are. So any God that's created, really, it's, might as well worship a baboon. That's my line of thinking when it comes to, God and demons and Satans and, all this, malarkey, I guess, would be the right word to use, because it's nothing, it's garbage. We need to snap out of that, because as long as we continue to pray to some, fictitious God, then nothing's going to happen. Whatever you're praying to, pray to the universe, because it's the universe that you're working with. Just work with it, not some, made up fictitious of an imagination of someone that lived thousands of years ago. Come on now, it's not atheism, it's none of that. It's, even atheism is a religion. It's based on the idea that there's no God, and then they worship that, so it's a religion too, Everything is a religion, just packaged up differently and presented to you, with a different bow on it, right? Like New Ageism, like New Agers and, all this shit. It's just a different package, man. You look at the New Age prophet, what is it? Like some blonde-haired guy, radiant, shining, kind of looks like Jesus or Mithra, or, go back, further and further back. It's the same deal, just wrapped up differently. Given to you with the fancier bow so that you'll buy it and worship it. It's just another level of deception, and what we need to do is step back from it and go, whoa, it's right. Holy shit. I don't need to worship anything except myself. Worship yourself, love yourself, respect yourself. And then once you come to terms with yourself, then watch the power that you have. It's amazing.
I definitely see where you're coming from. Of course, sometimes me and Omar don't agree on everything, that, but that's why we love each other so much, is because we get different points of view. Personally, I do believe in God, but that's for me and not for you, and I understand that, and I truly
Right,
understand
absolutely.
everything you said, and I agree with it. I actually agree with all of it, because you need to love yourself. You need to be omnipresent in that moment, and I believe that the universe does work in ways. To me, it's coinciding with my belief in my higher
Mhm.
power too. But to each his own. Nobody is wrong. That's the
Yeah,
greatest.
nobody is wrong.
That's the greatest thing about it. And
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
love when you say these things too, because it's also enlightening to hear that other side too. I think it's truly epic, man. And like, this is one of the things that I love about humanity, is the diversity in thought makes life interesting. So to
Hmm.
see these things, and to actually listen to those things, even if there's that moment where you're like, well, that's not my take on it, but I respect it 110%. You know what I mean? And I think it's awesome, because you did hit on a lot of the same stuff that I think. So I coincided with just about all of that, and I think it's great. I think it's great, and this is why I love these conversations. Just like me, you, Clarence, and Leo. We always say, like, we sometimes we agree to disagree, but that's the greatest part of our friendship. It
Yeah.
truly is, because we could say anything to each other and nobody gets offended or shaken or any of that. And that's love. That's true love for somebody. Like, that's brotherly love for somebody. And I
I, I, I
I
got,
love you to death, man.
I got, yeah, man, I love you too. But I got no issues with people following religions and such. If they want to follow a religion, so be it. That's your life, and that's your human experience. And if you want to spend it like that, then that's your call, man. And I'm your friend, and I'll support you in it. But if you want me to come to church with you on Sunday, sure, let's go. I've been to church many times, with
hmm
my buddies, and all kinds of different churches I've gone to. I got no issues with going to church, praying, because to me, in my mind, I'm not praying to a God, I'm praying to myself, right? I'm praying to the universe, to the consciousness that I'm trying to connect with. And when you're praying, then you're trying to connect with that consciousness, whether you want to call it God or not. Your end goal is the same thing. And I don't have any right to tell you you're wrong or you're right, or I don't have that right to tell you, well, your God's fake or this and that. It's not my place to do so. But
Here we go.
you
No, I'm
know,
joking. I'm fucking with you.
but there's three religions that that we're working with. I do have a problem, with those religions. Number one, in my mind, there shouldn't be a religion, and if this religion is poison, and there should be a way of life, right? Like Hinduism is a way of life, Buddhism is a way of life. Believe it or not, Islam is a way of life. Christianity is a way of life, but it's been morphed into a religion by these powers that that we are operating against. Because when you look at it, the religions, all three of them, the Abrahamic religions, they have this monolithic God, and this monolithic God is in service to the sun. Right now, they're in service to the dark sun, right? The old sun, Saturn, because back in the day when there was an Earth canopy, the Saturn would appear to be huge. It looked like a sun in the sky. That's why they call it the dark sun, right? The original sun. So, anyways, they're in worship to it, which is Saturn, and they've morphed it into a negative thing by design, because we're being held hostage by the Saturnistic being. Right? Some would want to call it Archon. I call it Archon, or shadow people, dark entities.
hmm
They're the ones that holding us hostage, and they're from Saturn. Right now, Saturn on the north pole of Saturn, there's a hexagon, and this hexagon is a field of information, and a hexagon is a flattened out cube. So when we look at these three religions, they're all in worship of the cube, right? We look at Islam, they have their holiest site called the Mecca, right?
Yep.
The Kaaba, right? Kaaba means cube. It's a black cube, and they go in concentric circles around that cube. Now, when we step back and look at it, those concentric circles they're making, it can represent the rings of Saturn. Then we got Judaism, and in Judaism, they wear a thing called a teflon on their forehead, on their third eye. And that is a black cube. And then we look at Christianity, and the cross has been appointed to it as its holy symbol. Now, a cross is a geometric cube, right? So we have all three of these religions, ways of life that have been created into religions that are in worship of the cube. And the cube is an expression of Saturn. And Saturn is a field of information which we are interacting with, or we're being forced to interact with. So the more we pray to, symbolically with these, items, what we're doing is we're sending our energy to Saturn and giving it more energy, right? So when we, not go to the mosque and pray and decide to pray at home, when we don't put on that teflon on our third eye, cover it up essentially, covering up your third eye and allowing the cube to, be in power of you, right? And then wearing the, cube around, your heart chakra, meaning that, the cube controls your heart. So you don't think with your heart, you think with your emotion. And then hence that's why we've all had these holy wars, right, throughout the centuries. So it's all connected to that. And that's my reason for not liking the religions. But, when you look at their stories, they're ancient stories, and all the stories that are in service to the whole. It's never to the self, this is to the whole. So they're living by the law of one. But what's happened is that with that law of one, they've, interjected it with law of confusion. And they've confused it and then turned it into this evil thing, which we're dealing with here today, right? Because you have the Vatican, and the Vatican's covering up all kinds of sex scandals on a daily basis. The genocide that they've committed here in North America against the Aboriginals, against the Aborigines, against the Africans, against the South Americans, against the Europeans, they've spared no one. Maybe except the Chinese, and the Chinese have been smart to keep the doors closed to that shit. But it's it all relates back to that. So that's my issue with the religions,
I agree with you 100% too. And if somebody was to classify me a Catholic, I don't know if I would fit that bill. That's the thing about me, is I'm not devout to any specific religion. Truly, what I believe is that, and this is only for me, and nobody else has to believe this, but I feel that if I'm going to do business with God, if I want to talk to my higher power, whatever it may be, I do it on my own time in my own way. I don't go to establishments. I don't need somebody to preach a word of anything to me. I do it for myself, by myself, on my own. If somebody wants to come and pray with me, that's fine. But just know that I wouldn't classify, because I see everything that you said is 100% true, 100% true. And I've seen, being close to it while growing up, I've seen the ways that manipulations happen in these establishments, and I truly reject that 110% because it's disgusting when they took. And I'll tell you, it was the Council of Nicaea that they always talk about, the first one and the second one, where when they took these books and decided this is good, that's not good. If you truly believe in a higher power, or if even in yourself as a higher power, shouldn't all text be available to all persons so they can acknowledge their faith the way that they want to, and not the way that you want them to? You know what I'm saying? Like these Council of Nicaeas were projecting their thoughts on the global, which never should happen. If you have a thought and you want to keep it inside and you tell somebody, that's fine, but never project it to the mass. As long as you keep it more on the eye, you'll never go wrong. Yeah,
the same thing happened with Islam. Right, they got their Quran, and the Quran dictates on how your life will be led, and then the philosophers have taken and twisted the words as to what it means, and turned it into a weapon and to control you, because that's what it's all about. As long as they have control of you, then they can have access to your money, your property, your family, your children. It's like the the Jesuits say, give us your child at until they're like 7 years old, from 7 to 12, something like that, and then you can have them back, because between 7 and 12 is the best time to program someone, and whatever you program them with that during those years is what that person's going to do for the rest of their lives. And they knew this shit, back then psychologically. We don't need Sigmund Freud telling us. These guys knew this few thousand years ago, and then through that they weaponized the entire belief system.
Yep, this is like it was like the predecessor to MK
Yeah.
Ultra, literally.
Yeah.
It was literally the archetype that they used for MK Ultra to implement things to people via communication, whether it be sight or sound, and manipulating them to a point where they could get them to do anything, drive people crazy, cause shootings. I mean, it goes on. And this is, even just to get back to where we started, this is more of the reason to do these meditation courses or workshops that you're going to put together, because it takes you a step back from that, so you can eliminate some of that controlled programming, or at least next time notice it in a way that you won't let it affect you in the same manner. It'll be conjecture at that point, and you can throw it away, but you have to be aware of it. And that's the biggest thing, is creating awareness.
I'll draw a little picture for you of what what I got coming up.
Yeah.
On February the 20th, I'm going to hold a webinar, and then a workshop, and then a discussion with Michael Feely about the Saturn Moon Matrix. And we're going to probably do about a 3-hour presentation, and then afterwards spend a couple of hours in our first workshop in identifying the symbolism which is used against us on a daily basis. Now, the workshops are going to be that of identifying symbolism and how to not give it energy. Like, most people don't know, it's a bit sad, but on a daily basis, we are bombarded with, tens of thousands of symbols, and a lot of those symbols mean nothing, but then there's some symbols in there that do mean things, and some symbols that get stuck in our head, they really do mean things. Now, what a symbol is a symbol is an expression of a frequency, just like a music tone. You get the on a guitar, you get the D string, you get a certain music note. That note is the expression of that frequency, and that frequency is an expression of that note. So if you pay attention to it, then you begin to give it energy, and then when you begin to give it energy, then your energy will go to wherever and whatever that symbol represents. So when we're being bombarded with these symbols, and symbology, first of all, was the language of the past, right? That's how people communicated with one another. You can put up 4 or 5 symbols, and those 4 or 5 symbols could mean like 10 sentences. You can walk up, look at it, and say, oh, okay, well, there's a town hall meeting about this, and this, and that.
Tell you a whole story.
Yeah, and then off you go, and it's just like 3, 4 symbols, right? And then that's how these guys spoke in the past. And then we created this modern, alphabet that we have today of, A to Z. And then, even A to Z, this modern language that we have, is based on a cube. So if you take, an individual letter and you draw out a, 3-dimensional cube, then, you can get the entire alphabet from that cube, the A to Z, the form of communication that we have today. So anyways, the workshop is going to be about that, and we're going to hold probably about 5 or 6 workshops just on symbols, and then then we'll see what else we can add to it to equip people with more knowledge, because because we're seeing these symbols on a daily basis, we need to be able to identify what these symbols mean, right? And especially when they're coming from corporations and secret societies, right? Things with these secret societies is that whatever that they own, they like to tag it, right? They buy a big corporation, they want to have their logo on it, and their logo is like their tag, right? Your street tag that you see in a back alley, or whatever, and they always like tagging their things. And so we're going to show everyone, in music and in movies, in corporations, and show them all that hey, these are the symbols that you need to look out for. And when you see these symbols, don't buy the product, and don't even interact with that symbol. Don't give it your energy, right? And
Absolutely.
yeah, so
Absolutely.
that's the end goal for that with Michael Feely, starting February 20th. Probably going to charge like $22.22 a ticket, and and then that's really is going to help us format the the entire structure of the show, right? And pay for the platform and things like that.
Absolutely. And it's crazy too, because people don't realize how many places that they can find this Saturn symbolizations. And I remember you did a webinar a while back that's incredible, with all the information that the places you find these symbols. And it was truly eye-opening for me when I watched it, because I didn't realize how far it actually went. Like, it's even down to, like, every place you look, once you notice the symbols, you'll know. Like, the thing is you have to trigger your brain to recognize it, because it'll come in different forms, and it's not that they try and hide it, but they incorporate it into other things. So
That's
it kind
right.
of falls into this landscape, and you're looking at the whole landscape without focusing in on those.
They tried to make it obscure,
Right,
right? But
right.
it's still there, and then they tried to add it in with other things that that aren't there. Like today, for instance, Amy and I, we were watching something on YouTube, and it showed this kid. And I'm not sure what we were watching, but the kid had two, band-aids across his face, one going like this, another one going like that, creating an X. And, and Amy and I looked at ourselves, and I was like, hey, look, we've got an X on his cheek, right? And, an X is the symbol for All Father Time. X marks the spot, and All Father Time is Kronos, and Kronos is the god of Saturn. So it goes back to that, and I was like, there's no need for him to have that second band-aid on his cheek. One would just suffice, one across like that. So why have the other one? Well, to have the other one is to, put that symbol in there, right? That, the symbol that they're in worship to. Where, Hollywood is in worship to the dark god, right? Or to the dark energy. So they're going to try to put those symbols everywhere they possibly can. And believe me, they do. Right? Because I can sit there all day long, and every show that I watch, I can pinpoint them over and over and over again. Even right here, looking at, I know Odin doesn't mean by anything, but even when I look at Odin's symbol here, right? Soma fusion, mind, body, soul, and then you have the two hands going like this, right? But those two hands, that's like the horn god, right? And the devil, right? And then that is an evolution from a crescent.
It's like when they do
Crescent,
this,
yeah,
they do that like that.
exactly. It's like confusing the language too, because if you stick your thumb out, that means I love you, right? So, which one is it? I love you, Satan, or is it just I love you?
Right, right. It's truly epic too. Like, and one of the things, that I've seen, that one of the most heinous things that I've seen that they did was they literally, I don't know if you're familiar with Mirjana Brambjanovic, whatever the hell her name is. She's like this dark woman who Google put an advertisement out, and she was supposed to be like this future artist doing this. Maybe she's old as dirt, probably about 70 years old, looks like she's 30, right? And this lady, I know, I didn't mean to make you laugh, but this lady holds these like spirit cooking things. And what that means is they're trying to steal your soul and annex you into this cult. And then what happens is, at this ceremony, they have a cake in the shape of a human body. And what
Yeah.
do they do? They're cutting it up with smiles on their faces, digging their face and eating the cake. Like, if that's not sick and you don't see what's wrong with that, I think you might be the problem. To
Yeah,
be
I think I
quite
know.
honest.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. And, yeah, spirit cooking. Not done with that. There's, what is it? There's like a cafe in Los Angeles that serves fresh human meat, right? You can have a veal style, obviously they mean children. Or, you can have, there's actually a menu for it. You can Google it, and you can find it. That's how bizarre it is. You can Google
That's
it and find it.
disgusting.
Yeah, it is. They have a website. They have a whole menu with human anatomy and pies and desserts and shit. It's disgusting. And that's what they're worshiping, these people.
That's the
That's
problem.
what they're trying to turn America into.
Right. I was about to say the same thing. This is what we're facing. If you work on the side of light, this dark is so dark that it's a jarring when you see it. You're like,
Yeah.
what am I up against? These guys are savages. I am the Saturday Night Savage, but I am not that savage. I'm talking about my tongue is savage, not, like
Your
these people.
mind.
Right, right. I'm sharp, Saturday Night Sharp guy. I don't care whatever you call me. Tuesday Night Titan. I don't mean, Cronus's Titans. I'm talking about Titan as in I'm a bearer of knowledge and truth. But, even those words and using them in some kind of context is almost not right with the way that these people are, because any affiliation to that side, that dark bleeds over into the innocent who take part and don't realize it. That's the problem. And that's why another reason why you need to do these things to step back and make sure that you're not literally going about or going along with these personifications of evil. And this evil is so entrenched into culture and society that it's going to take like an 80-foot drill to dig these bastards out of the ground and get them into the garbage somewhere. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, and I
it's
hope that
dire, bro.
I hope that starts here. Start tomorrow. Come tomorrow. I hope it really begins, because that's exactly what they're trying to turn America into. And if America turns dark, then the rest of the world is going to go dark, right? Because America is the light of the world. Right? People hate America for whatever bizarre reason, but they're absolutely wrong. America dictates what happens in the world, and if America goes dark, then I'm telling you, then there's some dark times coming for humanity across the world, because America has a huge, huge influence on every single country on this planet.
Well, one of the reasons why I think that they
Biden
don't
comes in, oh my God, man!
well,
Oh,
that's the thing is it goes down to the leader of the free world, right? So a lot of these countries that don't like America, it's facilitated through some person in charge doing something so heinous to those people that America gets the backlash when truly it should be that politician who's literally working for this dark entity, which has been over the last 30 years, 40 years. Everybody that has been in that office up to this point, up until the last 3, 4 years, is truly on an agenda that if I told you and got into all of it, it would make your head spin. That's how heinous it's been and how corroborated the right, the left are both wings of the same decrepit bird. It takes, it's going to take the tail feather that fell off to right the ship, if you
yeah, it's
understand
like
the metaphor.
Yeah, it's like we were talking before the show started. I was saying tomorrow, either way, it doesn't matter which way the dice is going to land. Tomorrow, the shit's going to hit the fan. If Biden gets elected, then you got 74 million Americans that have guns that are going to be very, very angry, or you get Trump that gets reelected, and then you have the same shit show. With Antifa and BLM and all that garbage that we saw here this summer, be tenfold, hundredfold right across the country. So either way, it doesn't really matter which way. We're about to go through a very turbulent time, beginning tomorrow, and just protect yourselves and don't go outside. Just straight up. If you can avoid going outside, then do it. But if you do, arm yourself, right? Because you got these fuckers that come up behind you, stabbing you from behind and shit like that, right? Roll in groups and cover each other's backs, because America is about to become a very, very dangerous place tomorrow.
I just shared an article with all the Gurn family that says that they already found piles of 2x4s and propane tanks.
Bricks. Yeah, and bricks.
Laying on the road. And the thing,
and bags.
Right.
In fucking bags.
The mayor of DC, Muriel Bowser, doesn't realize that she's calling in the National Guard preemptively to swell the protest. But during the times of people burning other places down, she did nothing. She wouldn't call in the National Guard to save it. But what she doesn't truly understand is that the National Guard does not answer to her. It answers to the White House. Mm-hmm. So what she's doing is facilitating a peaceful protest and keeping it that way. That what's going to happen is they're also not allowed to have any type of firearms, the National Guard. And, a lot of these places that let these things go down and not caring about their people should be indicative of the type of path that class is on, you know and if it's not eye opening, you need to expose yourself to alternate media sources to figure out like all of that stuff. And one of the things that I'm doing is with my website is we're going to have a news area. And what that is it's going to be actual headlines of non-party affiliated news, which means you're going to get the best of the left, the best of the right, the worst of the right, the worst of the left. It's going to truly be centered because I'm going to call out BS where I see it. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. Doesn't matter if you claim independent. If you do wrong per humanity, you will be ostracized via these articles. It is going to be the purest news source you've ever seen. And that's the intention behind it, because it's going to have a bunch of other news too, paranormal, UFOs, everything. But the headlines are going to be almost a centrist type of headline. It's not going to be clickbait or ploys. They're going to be articles of substance. They're going to be articles of knowledge and basically doing due diligence and research to show you what exactly is happening. And you don't have to get scooped up in the propaganda and be whisked away to some fairy tale and it doesn't exist, whether it's the right or the left. You know what I mean? Like, it's truly it. If you listen to all right-wing media, you will get swept away into this fantasy that everything's going to be great if we just, bum rush the left and destroy the left. Then you get into the left side and it's all these crazy rights, all these people on the right that are so crazy. We've got to eliminate them to have the society that we need. They both have rhetoric that is just appalling.
Yeah,
in so many ways.
Like that guy last night that was praying to Barma, praying to the monolithic God, Barma, and an A man and A woman. Like what the WTF, man? Like,
that is
really.
Ignorance at such a level
that's what they want to turn America into.
That's
did you see that the changes that Pelosi put out that she wants to take out son, father, daughter, it wants to put it in with like sibling, parent. They're trying to erase our identity as a person.
Here's the thing, right? This is the first Congress of this group.
Yeah.
So what's the first thing that they do? They worry about names, pronouns, all that garbage when they could have been vaccinated. I mean, I don't believe in the vaccination, but for old people, instead of incrementing certain laws to help old people stay away from this stupid pandemic that seems to, there is a bug. It's out there. Is it as bad as they say? No. But people with comorbidities are dropping dead because of this.
So let me ask you this question, Rob.
Go ahead.
My wife works in healthcare, so
okay.
They want her to get a vaccination, and she's saying no, I don't want it, and they can't force her to take it. So this is my question: if this virus is as deadly as they say, and if this virus has the intention of this vaccine has the intention of what they want, right? The intention is to protect the vulnerable, right? The elderly, people with pre-existing conditions and such, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, why not just vaccinate those people and leave everybody else alone? Because if they're vaccinated, then there's no chance of them getting sick and dying, right? Well, so why does my wife need to be vaccinated and these people get vaccinated to protect the elderly? It makes no sense.
That's just it, right? So let's look at statistics. Let's just go straight statistics on this. First off, we know the numbers are buffed. We know that to be a fact. They admitted to it in the very beginning of COVID. They admitted the numbers were buffed. We know that. So even buffed numbers, we're at a survival rate of 99.96, which is not even the flu, which you have a vaccine for. That doesn't make any sense. You should take that either. But it's not even that bad, right? So you're right. If this guy's going to get it because it makes him feel better, then I'm no risk to him. Therefore, I don't have to do that.
Exactly.
But even in places like New York, where they're trying to pass this bill that, as per the governor's discretion, as per dirty dirtbag Cuomo, His At his discretion, he can literally imprison me in a facility, which is a medical facility or a facility of
Oh,
his choosing,
yeah, we got those coming here
and
in Canada.
he has the ability to give me um, medication, vaccination, and hold me at his discretion, which means that he can vaccinate me without my will. If that is not indicative of what this push for communism truly is, look at this bill. This is the first 7 pages of this bill. It's talking about locking you up if you have any. It doesn't even say the 19. It says any disease. You could have a cough. This man can lock you up and give you the COVID vaccination. You gotta be fucking kidding me. Like,
Canada, they're building internment camps
they got him here
right
already,
across.
bro.
Yeah, they're building them right across the country, and now they're talking about having vaccination cards, and then they were talking about putting people for quarantine in these camps. And they never mentioned COVID. They mentioned everything, right? So they can just indiscriminately come in, grab you, stick you in these camps, and just say that you're in quarantine for whatever reason they deem fit, right? So it's happening, man. Gotta remember we're in 2021 and we have Agenda 21.
That's
So
right.
this is working all together and it's happening, and we just need to identify it. I think it's all garbage because if you look at history going all the way back to 1320. 1320 had a plague, 1420 had a plague, 1520 had a plague, 1620 had a plague, 1720 had a plague, 1820, 1920, and now 2020. For like the last 900 years, there's been a plague every 100 years.
And the crazy thing is, those plagues took out a third of the population of the
Yeah.
entire world.
Yeah, and then now we got COVID.
Right. It literally hasn't even taken 0.1% of anything, which is, I know what, nobody, I don't wish death upon anybody. Right. And I'm not trying to say that to be a jerk, but truly, it should be at the discretion of the people, not
Yeah.
any politician or any group. And the thing that gets me about all this too is that all of this, like I said, let's go back to the Congress, right? They could have passed anything to help people. The first thing that they talked about was parents, mother, father, now are parents, brother, sister is whatever the hell they want to call it. That is not important stuff. Look at all the suffering that's going on throughout this country and even in Canada where you are. This is the time to bring people together to help one another, not distance
They
them
want to
apart.
divide us more.
That's a fact. And that's what we have to overcome. That is the objectivity that we have to truly propel ourselves past, because if we don't, it will be the downfall. Everybody knows the term divide and conquer. The moment you assess yourself with any one of these small little groups or boxes that they want to put you in is the moment you failed. Remember that. That's the moment that you failed. Whether you're Catholic or Jewish, whether you're straight or homosexual, whether you're right or left, whether you're, apolitical, non-political, whatever the case, any one of those things, you are all Americans. In your case, we're all North Americans. We all stem from the same type of culture. Stop with the BS. If we all adapt to each other and just let everybody live just like you want to live, it goes back to the saying, do unto others as you want done to yourself. That would be, if we could all instill that in our daily working, this place would be 1,001 times better than it is right now.
Yeah, but people are stuck in that rat race, the daily rat race, where they want to stuck in that loop, and that loop makes them angry. And when they get angry, then they vibrate negatively, and then they think foul thoughts about other people, right? So that's the number one problem. Is this loop that everybody is stuck in, and again, that's part of the false perception, reality that we're caught up in, right? So we need to observe ourselves, like I was saying earlier. We need to observe ourselves as a third person. Like right now, for instance, I may be talking to you, but I'm observing myself from the corner over there. I'm watching myself talk to you, right? Because, I'm observing myself perpetually as a third party until I go to sleep. And then I wake up and I see myself as a third person, because that allows me to deal with things that are coming my way in a better way. I can logically deal with it. I don't, react to it. Right? And that's what we all need to start doing, is to raise our self-awareness. Once you raise your self-awareness, everything else is simple.
That's a fact. One of the things that I do is I usually take a breath and throw out my first thought. Take the second one, because the first one is a reactionary thought. The second one is a little more focused.
Yeah.
So when I see something, I'll be like, oh, I'll stop, take a breath. First thing, get rid of it. What's the second thing? Okay, it's a little bit more intelligible. Let's go with that. Whether it's an objection or not, it's still well thought out as opposed to my initial emotional reaction.
Yeah.
So, talking about a lot of these things, sometimes people get fired up, and I'm in no way downing anybody that wants to get the vaccine or do whatever you want. I mean, I'm for everybody maintaining their own personal happiness and their own personal space, whatever they feel is right for themselves. But at the same time, before you jump into things, is a cautionary tale is to be objective about those things. Do your diligence. Make sure you research things. Make sure you know all about it, no matter what it is, before you throw yourself in full head of steam. And that's what we're trying to convey here. That's also with the meditation, those types of processes, and instilling your life with those processes help you to not be an emotional creature. It helps you to be a logical creature. When you're when you're logical, you tend to get in less trouble. I personally think that.
Do what you gotta do. As long as nobody gets hurt, you don't get hurt. And that's the outcome of it. Do what you got, man. If you want to get the vaccine, power to you. If the guy next to you doesn't want to get it, well, then leave him alone. If he doesn't want to wear a mask, leave him alone. What's in any skin off your ass? It doesn't matter. Like you're gonna be kissing the guy. It's not wearing a mask. You're gonna walk by him for like a split of a second. And that's where the programming comes in, right? Oh, he's not wearing a mask and he's not conforming to my ideas. So I'm going to down him and I'm going to attack him, and I'm going to call him all kinds of bizarre names and to make him feel bad about himself. And I'm going to guilt him into wearing this fucking mask.
Well, that's the other thing about it too, is that we talk about reality is perception, right? So everybody's perception is different. Everybody's perception is something totally like new and unique to you, right? So when you see somebody else's perception, and let's just say you don't agree with it, it doesn't mean that you can't learn things from that person either. Their perception might help you understand your perception a little bit better. We all have to coincide and be students always.
Yeah, that is, after all, you.
Exactly. Their perception of our perception is like their perception. It's just a perception of the same infinite consciousness, which means that they're just a reflection of us, slightly tweaked.
I am a projection of you as you're a projection of me, because we're both a projection of the infinite consciousness. We're both a focus of attention of the same thing. So it doesn't matter, what color my spacesuit is, as long as I have a spacesuit, that's all that matters. It's ridiculous to think at that level, because that's people's problem.
Well, that's true too. And one of the ways to look at it too is that the universe is filled with energy, right? There's dark matter, they say. We're energy too. So we're just a part of this universe. No matter what this outer husk looks like, everybody on the inside is energy, just like you are. So our energies are connected, obviously. Otherwise, we wouldn't be like each other so much. As even as diverse as some people are, they're still alike in some ways, regardless of how you look at it. And I think that once we transcend that we are just man kind of mentality, I think that's when we truly open up those gates to these higher levels of thinking and transcend that 3D into that 4D, and then hopefully into that 5D, where we become complete energy beings and losing the husk. And then we'll all look alike in a sense, except for the way we project ourselves. It could be possibly different, but there's so much we could talk about with that too, because it just never ends. And there's a duality. We all know that life has duality. There is the yin and the yang that we talk about. When you can look at both the same way, is I think when you ultimately prosper, because to look at both sides of the story will also help you no matter what. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Looking at all sides to things truly gives you the full encompassing, I don't, the full encompassing subject that you're trying to delve into. So the duality of man, hopefully one day we can get rid of that and transcend the duality. But we have to see where it goes from here out of the 3D,
We got to understand the word human. What does the word human mean, right? Within the word human, we have two words. We have hue and we have man, right? What is hue? Hue is different spectrum of color. And then we have man. So we have a different spectrum of color of man. Hue, man, because man comes in all spectrum of colors. Comes in white, comes in brown, comes in black, turns green, turns red. It comes in all different shapes and forms and colors. So we have to understand what the word human means, right? Because it has two words in it: hue, man, man of color, right?
Makes sense, of course. That these are the things that they hide from us. That people don't realize that these meanings to these words, and they're using these words that they truly have no idea what they mean. Just
Yeah.
like just like when he says, a man and a woman, he thought that he was being, in this. He thought he was in this place where he was being literally telling people that this is for equality, but truly, amen in Latin means so be it. So what? And a woman means nothing. So this man was so ignorant that he literally had no idea what the word or the root word meant to this specific saying. He actually butchered all of it and was probably not even, that's the problem is these people don't educate themselves and they speak. I know when they speak about these things, people get misinformed and then they take that even further, even further. And that's truly a terrible thing. That's like a mind wasted
I
in
wonder if
my
he
eyes.
even realizes, the god Barma, what it is, right? Because Barma is, a trio of gods, right? You got Vishnu, you have, what's the other one called now? I forget. But one of them is the god of creation and the god of destruction, and it's the least worshipped god in India, right? But again, I got to come back to the fact of him, worshiping to Burma, and in a people's building in the United States when the country is based off of Catholicism, right? So why is it that in a culture and a government that's based off of Catholicism now suddenly worshiping Burma? Right? What is it that he knows that we don't know? Right? As soon as I heard that, my flags went up. I was like, "What the fuck? This can't be right. This just simply cannot be right." So I had to go back and I had to listen to it again, and I was like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, and
This.
they also have in Chicago. They have statues of Bahamut. Like, do you
Oh,
not
Bamba,
realize?
yeah,
And it literally has children around it in the
yeah,
statue. Like, what the f is wrong with you people?
with his dick sticking straight up.
Yeah, how do you not? This is the sickening part. If you people don't realize that this is coming to a head, and not to be dirty in any way, but this is truly. That's why tomorrow is it's going to be such an impactful day because this crescendo of this symphony is truly going to either, fall in on itself or we're going to shoot straight past it where they can't touch us anymore. But either way, it's going to be a fight to get to that point. So no matter like you said, Omar, no matter which way it's spun, it's going to be a fight. So, and
Well,
if you don't
yeah,
think that it's coming to your front door, you're I hate to say it, but you're mistaken. That's why anybody and everybody should have accessible food, accessible water, a bug out bag in case you don't know what that is. That's if you have to run immediately. You have a bag packed, ready to rock and roll. You can get out there. If you have things that will keep you safe, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to say what they are. Make sure that they're ready to go when tomorrow comes because Here's what they're saying, and I'm going to tell you what they're saying on a political level because everybody who knows me knows that I follow politics. They're saying that if the president so does challenge this election, what's going to happen is that the decorum of the government itself is going to fall apart. But the thing that they don't realize is that what the left has done to that decorum up to this point was piss on it. So whatever vestige is left is already been pissed on. So we're at a no holds barred type of point where there's no mercy shown to either side. Both sides want to eradicate each other at all costs. That is the most dangerous element that you can have when you're talking about these things. There should be open discourse, open discussion. That's fine. But once you get to the point of complete annihilation of the other side, that's when it's become maddened. And when it's maddened, it becomes quickened. And when it's quickened, it's game over. Truly.
Well, from what we were talking about earlier, then, it truly does sound like that Trump is going to win tomorrow. Because if they didn't think that Trump was going to win tomorrow, then they wouldn't be going around to all these major cities, leaving piles of bricks and shit everywhere in preparation for the riots to follow, right? So I think they already have a pretty good inclination as to that Trump is going to get reelected, and they're just gearing up. I bet you they're rallying all the troops right now,
That's
right
a fact.
right across the states, right across the entire country. I bet you that's what they're doing, and they're telling them, giving them maps, and telling them where the bricks are, and where other weapons and shit is, and otherwise there'd be no reason for them to do that. You don't see.
I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. And the crazy part about that is the other side, the people, and let me tell you, the corruption runs deep on both sides. And since the beginning of this all started in 2018, right? This has been planned because what they did was they let the corruption show its hand. And now that it's been shown, they've played their last play. Their Hail Mary was tossed, and they know their number is up. And what that means is that when it all goes down, the cards will fall where they may. It's over. They know it. And it's going to be biblical once it's finished. That's for sure.
My question is what does that mean for the world?
Well, that's the
Right.
issue.
Right? What does it mean for me, for instance, here in Canada, of what's happening in the States? Right? If Trump gets elected, how does that affect me? Right? If Biden comes in, how does that affect me? Because whatever happens in the States happens in Canada. Right? So if there's a civil war in the States, then there's going to be a civil war in Canada. It'll be just a few months later, and because that's the way shit happens here, we follow. Right? So and our prime minister seems to be really tight with China. Right? So if Canada betrays the States and goes against the States and lets China attack the United States from here, because we already have Chinese soldiers training here in Canada on our bases.
I heard
Right?
that.
So
I was like, what the hell?
yeah, so what does that mean for me? Right? So does that mean that I have to go out and fight these Chinese troops because they're attacking Americans? Well, yeah, that's what I have to do. And if that's what I have to do, then that means I'm going against my country and then that civil war. Right? Because I'm not the only one that's going to be thinking like that, because I don't want my fellow Americans getting attacked by a hostile foreign force. Right? So if I can get them from the backside, then, hey, then that's what I got to do. Right? Because our interests are the same. We're the same country with this invisible line that divides us, that tells us you can't cross that line.
We truly are. And Mexico,
We're one country.
Mexico, too. Mexico is also something that, like, basically what happens is anything that happens in the United States literally is affecting, Canada and Mexico. And
yeah, I wouldn't say Mexico is as affected by what the United States does as much as it affects Canada.
no, definitely
Right?
Canada first,
Yeah.
but it definitely has trickled down to Mexico too. And I can
Oh,
tell
yeah,
you
totally.
why. And it's going to be something that it might end up being North America versus the world,
Mhm.
because what's going to happen is that I truly feel that there's going to be some dramatic shift. I feel this, whether it's not going to be exactly tomorrow. It's going to take time, but there is going to be a dramatic shift where this corruption gets dug out by the root, and they're going to find it. They're going to, and people. You have to understand, people are creatures of habit. So when they feel that they've been trampled on long enough, eventually they will rise up and they
Yeah.
will take out. You can't back a human into a corner and not expect the fight or flight mechanism to take hold. But it's all about how bad the arsenal is that comes for us that truly determines whether we'll be able to achieve that or not. But I think that there's more to this than just the geopolitical spectrum too. I think that it's more of a consciousness fight. I
I
think
think it's going to be a sudden, I think it's going to be a very sudden thing. And it's going to be tomorrow. I'm pretty certain of it. It's either way. Whatever happens tomorrow is what's going to dictate the next several years because
it's going to start tomorrow for sure.
it's going to, and it's going to be a sudden thing. And when those riots begin tomorrow, there's not going to be no end to it, right? They're going to have firearms this time. They're going to be engaging the police with bullets. It's that's how it's going to be tomorrow. Either way. If Trump gets kicked out, I just think, man, you got 74 million people, that believe that this was, stolen, and they got guns, and I don't think they're just going to sit back and allow this to happen. And then, then you got the crybabies that, if they can't get in fraudulently, they're going to go and destroy windows and property and burn cars and houses. So, either way, that something's going to happen, and it's going to be a sudden thing. It's going to be very sudden, quick, and it's going to escalate, very, very quickly. And then if it, to go nationally, to be declared martial law, I think would happen like within the week, if that, within just a few days of the mayhem that's going to just spread across the states. And it kind of, worries me because I've seen, BLM protests and Antifa protests right here in my town. And, and if these guys are going crazy, then shit, man, what are they going to do up here? Right? Man.
You guys are close to Washington, and Washington is just an epicenter of just trash right now. From what's happening in Washington and Oregon, they're just, what's funny too is that they have the most crybaby leaning mayors and governors, yet they still want to perpetrate some kind of arson or destroy everything with those people in powers, which means that there's no satiating their appetite. There's nothing that can give them, or we can say to them, that's going to stop them, or relinquishing any sort of power to them or anything like that. I think the only thing that might stop that is to give them their own state, let them live their lives out in their own chaos.
No. I mean, they can't do that because then the next group is going to come along and then they're going to want the same thing. And then the next one. And what needs to happen is that we need to kick their ass. We need to spank them and teach them a lesson. And then that's it. And then put an end to this, and especially put an end to this culture cancel. We need to put an end to it, just right away. For me, BLM is nothing more than a racist group, because if you go in with the mentality of color or the tone of your skin, then you're a racist. Just straight up. If you're going in there with the mentality of Black Lives Matter. Well, why not the white ones and the red ones and the brown ones and the yellow ones? What about the rest of them? You're emphasizing one, right? You shouldn't go in there with that mentality. So if you do, you're a racist. If you go in there and say, oh, white lives matter, then you're a fucking racist too, because what about the black ones and the yellow ones and the green ones?
That's just it.
All lives matter, and then as soon as you say that to them, they say, oh, well, you're a slave owner. And they go back to that age-old card, of slavery. It's like, get the fuck out of here, man. That shit's been over for 100 fucking years. Even my parents weren't involved in that. My grandparents weren't involved in that. Fuck off with that age-old bullshit. Card, you're playing the race card. You're a fucking racist just for playing the race card.
Well, that's true. And the funny part is this cancel culture is only for specific people. If they were tearing down statues of George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, what about Joe Biden? How come he hasn't been canceled yet? This man said more derogatory things towards black and brown people than anybody I've seen in recent history. Yet he's their champion. How does that work? One,
He's going to
two.
be in a bunker here pretty quick.
That's fact. But here's the other thing about it too. Like, if Black Lives, I understand the motivation for Black Lives Matter, and if that was true to what they believed, I would say, okay, I understand that. But they don't believe that. They're literally not for that. They're just for breaking up the Western culture, which makes no sense.
Yeah.
That's not equality on any given foothold. You're talking about literally breaking down Western culture. If you're breaking down Western culture, how could you have any equality between any races? You're not going to have any culture left to be equal to. You're all going to be at the bottom, everybody. And then you're going to have rulers and socialism and communism, and then everybody's under the dictate of some dictator. That's what they want, and I don't understand that. Breaking up the family and all that, it's garbage.
The way I see it is, these very same people had prided themselves on the fact that North America is multicultural. When I was growing up, I used to take pride in Canada saying that, we have people living in our country from every single country in the world, that we are the greatest country that there ever is because we're multicultural. We have the cultures of every country. Right? We can celebrate every culture whenever we want. If I feel like Ethiopian food tonight, I'll go to an Ethiopian restaurant and I'll have some Ethiopian. I'll feel like I'm in Ethiopia. If I want Mexican, I'll go to a Mexican restaurant and I'll feel like I'm in Mexico. And these very same people that pride themselves on that very thought and that very notion, in the 90s and the 80s and the early 2000s. And now because they're weak-minded people, they allowed themselves to fall into this narrative of this Black Lives Matter and, of this Antifa and, a single race and, we can, we don't have a culture, we have to destroy culture, shit like that. They're very confused people, they really are. They have a mental illness and it needs to be addressed. And no, we can't give them a state. We can't give them a province. We can't give them a chunk of land. We need to take our belt off and we need to spank them and bring them back to reality and say, what the fuck's wrong with you? There's the greatest nation that's ever been built, ever in history, where you have everybody from everywhere in the world living together in peace, not killing each other, not raping each other, not robbing each other. We're all living in peace, working together in peace, going towards a common goal together. Right? You can't get nothing better than that, in my opinion. You go to India, all you get is Indian. You go to Chinese, all you get is Chinese. You go to Italy, all you get is Italian. You go to Spain, all you get is Spanish. You come to America, fuck, you get everything. And it's the rainbow of life.
That's right.
That's
you can
to
literally
be proud of. That's to be proud of that right there.
Absolutely.
Not to destroy it.
Absolutely. And you can literally enrich yourself with any culture that's out there because it's all here.
You fucking A.
So, and I agree with you. You know what? Maybe I was hesitant to say that they need a state. I think you're absolutely right. Thinking more about
their
it.
Ass.
And I am not for hurting anybody or any violence. I'm not asking anybody to do that. But I truly think that we all just have to, before we end, I just want to instill this on people is that, you have to be prepared. Right now is that point. We're on this precipice that has never, well, actually, you know what? It's probably been seen on this planet quite a few times. But it's one of those points where civilization either becomes greater or becomes nothing.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we are. And the more you keep that in mind, I want to be alive. I want my kids to be alive. I want my kids to be enriched with the American instilled values that America has. I don't want them to be a part of any socialist regime where they have to work for the next man. It's all about it. They want to give things away, and it's not about meritocracy anymore. A meritocracy is where you achieve per your merits because you did the work, not because the next man did the work and you're going to prosper. That's no way to live. Then there's resentment. And when there's resentment is when problems happen. It's just like anybody you talk to. If the next man has more than them, Most people will be like, I want what he has. I honestly don't want that. I want what I have. I want my little piece, and I'm going to go get it. I've been instilled to not look at the next man and say, that's what I need. That's what I want. No, I know what I want, and I'm going to work my ass off for it. And anybody who's going to tell me no can take a seat in the back of the bus because I'm not into it. And what's going to happen is I'm going to get what I want because I achieved it. And then when I achieve it, it's so much more gratifying because I did it myself. I didn't ask anybody. It wasn't a handout. It was nothing. I did it upon my own merits, which means I truly achieved that point in my life. And I think if more people thought like that, maybe we wouldn't be where we are right now.
I'm not in the support of violence, but one thing I do support is that if you need a reset, and you need a cuff to the back of the head to wake you up, then so be it. Then that's my thinking, and it's sometimes you got to spank somebody in order for them to snap out of it, and I think that's kind of the precipice where we are, and that's what's going to happen in the course of next little while, and then once it's over, then then it's over. Everybody's going to be awoke, and everybody's going to know what the fuck's going on. It's going to be a different world to live in, and everything's going to be totally different, to prior to what we've lived so far in our lives. I'm telling you, in the next 5-10 years, it's going to be such a change that the old ways of living is kind of like how we would look at, our great grandparents, riding around in horse and carriage. And, that's what it's going to be like in about 10 years time from now. But, this whole cabal and this swamp that's, infests the world needs to be gotten rid of. And that really, in essence, is going to start tomorrow. Because once tomorrow starts, it's just going to be a domino effect. Because once people see America, acting out, the rest of the world is just going to follow. And there's going to be some serious fucking mayhem coming. And protect yourself, protect yourself, man. Don't be afraid to use violence to protect yourself and your family, because these people come up from behind you and stab you in the back, literally, right? So do what you got. We're in perilous times now. We've never gone into this territory before. This is brand new. Whoever thought America would go into civil war 10 years ago, 5 years ago? Nobody.
Never.
Nobody. Nobody.
That's the drastic change we talk about. But I to get it back to a lighter note, this is why I love having you come on, Omar. I mean, we could literally sit here and talk about anything. We could run the gambit, man. This has just been such a great show. It's been exceptional. I appreciate you coming out. I mean, this is just, to me, this is one of the best shows we've done. I love how raw and intense it was, and it was emotional, and we said things. And if I want you to tell everybody again where they can find you and the upcoming events. I want to make sure these people know about these things because I think it's important for them to check it out. I will be there in the sense of either watching or taking part, whichever you shall have me. But I truly can't wait to see the next event.
They can find me at Watchers Talk on YouTube, and same thing on really any other platform that I engage with, like Instagram or Twitter. But I'm not really all that active on Twitter or on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook, and really beyond that, YouTube is what I stick to. And even that platform, I'm looking to get away from and go into a private network, because people know me know that I'm heavily censored, and I get I'm constantly getting my videos deleted, and getting banned, and having my pages being deleted and shit like that. So I'm looking to change that up here pretty quick, probably this year. And my next event is more than likely it's going to be on January 22nd. I'm going to be holding my first meditation event, and I'm hoping to present some conscious music and discussion afterwards. And then on February 20th, I've got the Saturn Moon Matrix with Michael Feely, and the workshop that probably going to proceed for the next 5 or 6 months. Hold one workshop a month. Or maybe 2 a month. I'll figure that out. We'll see how it works out for the first one. And beyond that, every 22nd of the month, from now until December and foreseeable future from that, I'm going to be holding meditation events, probably for an hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe sometimes 4 hours, depends. Really, like I said, but I want to bring in some music, and and maybe have some musical events, throughout the next few months, where I'll bring in a bunch of different conscious people that play music, and feature them throughout the day, and just sit back, smoke some grass, drink some beer, and enjoy some music.
Truly awesome, bro. I want to thank you again for coming on. I always enjoy talking to you, man. Even when we're not on camera, we always have a good time, and you rock.
Yeah, right on. Thanks, brother. You too.
Of course, man. I can't wait to see these events. I'm seriously amped. And I just want to thank everybody out there for letting us rant a little bit. Sometimes we like to walk down the streets that nobody wants to walk down and say the things that nobody wants to talk about.
Yeah.
That's what you get with the Tuesday Night Titan. This is what we do from 7 to 9 every Tuesday night on Global Enlightenment Radio Network. And you could catch me on Saturdays too from 8 to 10 on the Saturday Night Savage on those nights. So, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. It was truly an awesome episode, one of my favorite for sure. And be prepared for tomorrow. Things are coming, and I want everybody to be aware. But on that note, this has been Full Spectrum Universe. That's Omar. I'm Rob Yox, and we are out of here.
And thanks to Odin.